Welcome to Preps Plus Podcast, episode 34. I'm Jason Leskiw, Preps reporter, here with Josh Hart, senior sports editor.
I'm not senior yet.
No? I thought you didn't get that AARP card in the mail or anything yet? That was just me?
They don't offer it to you when you turn 25.
Oh, I actually really did get one of those in the mail recently. I was surprised. I'm only 31, I swear.
But his kid's like 17.
Looks like it.
His kid is bigger than him. In case you ever see Jason running around, his kid's taller than him.
All right, so we just wrapped up a very eventful basketball season. A couple of, I think you'd say, surprises in a sense. So on that note, I'm going to say kudos to Mark Morris. I feel like they really did a lot more than beating Foss in particular. This is what I mean here. Is impressive. Foss is a really good team. I mean, really, really good. And they beat Foss down there in Yakima. Kudos to them. A couple of those guys showed tremendous growth this season, and they earned it. So we're also going to talk about our all-league team. All area team for boys and girls, and we have an interview with Rainier's Desirae Hansen, soon to be Portland State's Desirae Hansen. So I hope you guys enjoy that. And then after we come back from that, we're going to talk a little baseball, softball. So I'll turn it over to Josh for some of these all area teams, and tweet us if you'd like. Tell us how much someone else should be deserving. We encourage that.
Yeah, I'll touch a little bit on Mark Morris too, because before the start of the season, we weren't very high on Mark Morris, to be blunt. A lot of people kind of criticized us early in the year for not mentioning him as a team to watch after winning 17 straight league titles, and despite what I think many would say was one of the least talented Monarch squads in many years. Did some great things, back-to-back district titles, 18 straight league titles now, making the state semifinals, finishing third place, best finish in a decade. So that was crazy. And then, of course, good friend Joe Kinch leads Kelso to their first trophy in nearly 60 years. So there's a lot of really great stories, and you can find all that content on tdmpreps.com, so I won't go into it a ton, but there's just a lot of really, really good team ball played. There was some individual talent, which we'll get into here, but there was just really, really good team ball played, and that was fun to watch as a basketball fan. As far as all area goes, we mentioned Desi Hansen early on. She ended up getting our Player of the Year. We have kind of a voting pool. A few people in here vote, and we kind of spit out these all area teams. Desi Hansen gets the nod slightly over Mackenzie Keck. Jason, you were one that voted for Desi. Mm-hmm. Why Desi? What makes her such a great talent?
She's just so dominant. I mean, she's. We were just before we started recording, we were joking about Pat Riley's genius play of give Michael Jordan the ball, and that's kind of what Desi Hansen has been for Rainier is, give her the ball and she's going to make something happen. It doesn't matter if there's 5 girls guarding her, she's still going to score. She's still going to grab her rebounds. She's excuse me, still going to find the open player to dish the ball to. She does it all, and it's just, we'll go into that. I'll touch on that more in the interview too with Desi, but she's a dynamite player.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to watch her over the last 4 years. I will go out and say she was not my pick. I was the one person in our voting pool who didn't pick Desi Hansen, and I went with Mackenzie Keck, primarily because of what Keck has done for that Ilwaco program. Rainier's had a lot of talent, through the years. Mackenzie Keck has just really transformed that Ilwaco program. Finishing Desi and Keck actually finished second all time in their scoring lists and for their respective schools. I just think Mackenzie just does, similar to Desi, she does a lot of things well. And it was, I flip-flopped on him a lot. I just kind of went with the nod to Mackenzie, just a little bit. Desi's at times tried to develop a shot, and she did really great job of developing that this year. And I talked with Doug earlier this week on how she's improved that. Mackenzie's just always had that kind of innate ability, and there's nothing wrong with either player there. But yeah, it was neck and neck. I'll say that. So it was pretty close between those. As far as some other girls go, since I'm kind of aware of how everyone voted, well, first off, I should say Ned Bittner's our Coach of the Year. He was almost unanimous in that as well. Really amazing job what he's done with Ilwaco, only the second time in program history to win back-to-back state trophies. They obviously go to and finish 6th in Spokane after a pretty stellar year, and kind of a couple games where they just got, they were so close to winning. So definitely could have been a different trip to Spokane. But I'll quickly jump into some of these other girls. So on our first team we have, and you can find this all on tdmpreps.com, as well as in the girls' team will be in Saturday's paper. Alexis Clevon, she's obviously a talented sophomore guard out at Kelso. Easton Reeves earned a nod. She was also kind of it was her, Clevon, and Madison Mosier, who made our second team, who were all fighting for some of those guard spots. All of them talented. I think Reeves kind of earned the nod just because of her scoring ability. One of our area's top scorers. And then you have the two Klotskani freshmen who kind of speak for themselves. Olivia Sprague actually was our top voted guard. And so that was kind of surprising. But what a season by those two to come in and do what they did. I think the final numbers on Blodgett were 25 and 15. So that's insane. And then Mackenzie Keck rounds out that first team. So really, really impressive work by a lot of those girls. Madison Mosier was very close to making it. Maddie Jacobson was very close to making it. Those were kind of the people among the top selections for the girls. Some really close calls there, but congrats to everyone there. On the boys' side, there was less debate about the player of the year. Most of us selected Shaw Anderson as our player of the year. He obviously took Kelso and put against some of the best players in the state, against some of these guys that are going D1, that are D1 ready now. You look at Eric Stevenson, guys that can go play at premier D1 programs right away, and he was right there in the conversation. You got to see him a lot.
He outscored Eric Stevenson there in Kelso's final game, actually, so he's state actually was an eye opener for me. Shaw had been just a post player. He lived in the post. He didn't hang out in the perimeter. Didn't bring the ball up the court. He didn't do too much of that at state either, but a couple times he did. He looked natural. He looked like he'd done it a million times before. And he has done it quite a bit, just messing around in practice, or obviously, like all of us, probably grew up going to the park or wherever, shooting some hoops. So he reminded me a lot of Matt Poquette in that sense, and the way he handled himself along the perimeter as one of the bigger guys on the floor. Matt Poquette, for those that don't know, graduates from Morton White Pass. Was committed to Central Washington, decommitted after the coach retired, and is now a free agent. And in my opinion, I think, and probably in a lot of folks' opinion, it has D1 caliber talent. One thing Poquette does, he can drive, he can, play the post, but he can also shoot the three really well. And Shaw Anderson started to do that in state, and he did it pretty well. So, I think this next season, I'm really looking forward to seeing the guy play, because just over the last week or two, he took such huge steps forward as a basketball player.
Yeah, he's really trying to transition into a wing at the next level, because to play as a D1 or D2 6-7 player, you got to be able to defend and score on the perimeter. And it'll be interesting. He's working with an AAU team this summer, and it'll be interesting to see what he can accomplish next year, because averaging 22 something a game and doing what he did this year for Kelso during a pretty magical run was quite impressive. Joe Kinch was a unanimous Coach of the Year selection. No doubter. There was a lot of good boys coaches to choose from, and what Joe was able to do with that team, beating some of the guys that they did down the stretch, was just impressive. His son makes our first team. I believe that's Emmett's first all-area first team selection. I think he's been second team a couple times. Just a really good point guard there. And then our top guard getter, a unanimous first team selection, Reese Wallace. Obviously, fifth in Toledo history in scoring, does a lot of really, really good things. We have Nate Hoff of Tootle Lake, who helped Tootle to their first trophy in 6 years, and does a lot of good things, bringing the ball up the court, and really good shooter, and was really aggressive at state, which was pretty impressive. And then you have the Berger twins, who
dominated.
Yeah, I mean I'm glad it was close with Garrett there, but I'm glad they both made it on the first team, because it's hard to distinguish between the two.
Yeah.
As far as I think they only separated probably by a handful of points in their career. And
distinguishing not only being twins, not only in scoring, which their scoring totals were almost identical. The way Coach Bill Backamus tells the two apart is by haircut. So that's how, and if you're an opponent, good luck.
A couple of close calls there that almost made the first team. Palmer Deinhardt out at Woodland, and kind of how he's grown as a player the last couple of years has been really impressive to see. And Riley Noah was also one that was really neck and neck with Nate Hoff there in the voting totals, and certainly could argue the case for Riley as a shooter and as a teammate and all of those good things. So that's kind of the breakdown of the all area. I think it turned out pretty well for the most part. Like I said, feel free to always disagree with us. It's on the boys' side, it's the first non-Mark Morris person in 3 years.
That's right.
Mark Morris has won 9 of 18 since in the last 18 years. So that's pretty impressive. But Will Burkhardt obviously won it twice, and Grant Gibb before that. So Kelso gets on it for the first time in a little while. Kelso hadn't had it. That's Kelso's first selection in the last 18 years. So kudos to Shaw Anderson.
Right.
I'm sure there was some before that. Our archives go back to 01. So, but yeah, that's pretty impressive. First Kelso kid in 18 years.
Definitely.
And then, on the girls' side? Is this? That's for Rainier's first selection since Molly Schwegler in 08. And Doug Knox was talking, and there's a lot of similarities between Schwegler and Desirae Hansen as far as their leadership and kind of their passion for the game goes. So that's kind of the breakdown there.
All right. Well, touched on Desi. We're going to get into that interview. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll be back with after the interview to talk about some baseball and softball. All right, we're here with Desirae Hansen, Rainier's star for years, really. They had tons of talent, but you're the number one, I think possibly the number one player in the state for 3A, and obviously got a nice scholarship offer to take you into next year playing ball. And so thanks for coming in.
No problem.
So I was just asking Desi, do you normally go by Desi, right?
Yeah. People call me all kinds of things.
Right, okay. About, state tournament history since she's been with Rainier the last couple of years, and you were saying this is the deepest you guys have ever gone.
In my high school basketball career, yeah.
Right. What's the kind of what do you attribute that to?
What do you mean?
Well, like this year, what makes this team this year better than the last couple?
I guess our what's it called?
Chemistry?
Yeah, there you
Okay,
go. Our chemistry. We've been playing Aspen and Otter. They're sisters. My sister played with Otters and Farrell's group, and we just got along real well. I mean, we'd crack jokes at each other. We'd make fun of each other. Me and Otter and Farrell play at lunch together, basketball. It's just, we feed off of each other.
Okay. And one thing that has been a constant for Rainier for a long time is, well, both Knoxes really, but in your case, playing basketball, Doug Knox, what's he like in practices? Is he the same type of personality when games are going in practice?
I guess it depends on the day. If we're like going through the drills, like not doing them just to do them, like going through them to get better, he's a happy dude, and he every practice he'll push us to do better. So like we miss a wide open lay-in, he'll like look like we miss those in games too.
Right.
So he'll get on to us about that and tell us that we've got to make them, and then like we goof off in practice, or he's trying to show us a new play, and people are like sitting on the sideline like laughing around, not listening, and then they get put in and don't know what to do. He gets pretty mad about that. And then in games, if we're being out hustled, he's not real happy about that either.
Right.
You can't control the shots if they go in or not.
Right.
I mean, sometimes there's just a plastic wrap on that rim because it's not going in. So he always forces us to play better defense. Because if they can't score, then it's all right. Because sooner or later, our shots are going to go in.
Right.
But if we stop them on defense, completely shut them down, then the game's going to be all right. Not many teams got 40 points on us. And he always told us if we have a lot of 40 points or below games, not a lot of teams are going to win.
Right, definitely. And one thing that makes you really unique, I think, as a high school basketball player, is, and this is something I've asked Logan Nilsson about, who, by the way, that's the boys coach over at Rainier, for anybody who didn't know, also coaches you at Roots.
Yeah.
And some players on the team, would Desi start on the guys' team? And there's only been one answer, and that's absolutely. And I think, that's really rare for a girl to be able to, you take, for our area, the best girls player on each team and wouldn't stand a chance usually on the guys' team. But you, I think, would probably still average 20 points a game in the guys' league, right? Is my opinion, shared with, a few other people have the same opinion.
Yeah.
How does that feel, number one, and what do you think has gone into that? What's been, the path leading to that?
I mean, it feels great that everyone thinks I can play on any team that I want.
Right.
And the path leading up to that, I guess, is just the hard work, because there's a lot of guys that have the talent and they can jump out of the world. They're super quick. They're just athletic people, but they don't want to put the work or the time into getting better at maybe dribbling because they can't dribble up the court, or shooting because they fling their wrist weird.
Right.
Just a lot of the fundamental things that a lot of guys have forgotten about.
Okay. Basketball seems like it's come more natural for you than a lot of people, even guys included, or have you always been quick dribbler, quick mover? No. Okay.
No. My first tryout at Roots, we were going through the dribbling drills, and I could not do it. I was laughing and everything, and I couldn't do it. And then I go to a camp at Portland State, and they're doing the same dribbling drills, which I had a couple of years doing it at Roots. So I was like, okay, I can do this. And then we would look up, and I'm like, okay, that's a little harder. And then they had us close our eyes. No, wow. I couldn't.
Okay.
Closing the eyes was a little hard because I used my peripheral vision so much, and I couldn't see where the ball was going. And I could do some moves, but then they had us walk.
Okay.
No, I couldn't do the walking part, and I was laughing because I was having trouble doing it. And everyone's like, why are you laughing? You're not doing it right. And I'm like, sometimes you just gotta laugh.
Right.
I always say, smiling saves the soul. So I had to laugh through it.
Okay. And what was their reaction, and how quick were you able to? I'm assuming you were able to work it out eventually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Eventually, I got some of the moves down. Not all of them. 'Cause
Okay.
they're pretty hard. And then the coaches were afterwards. We had a meeting, and they were happy that I was laughing about it. They were real excited that I wasn't like down on myself because I couldn't do the specific thing, even though the girl next to me could have had her hands taped.
Balling up.
Yeah, and just had that ball on a string, I swear. And it was just going.
It's weird. Dribbling's one of those things where you just have to be coordinated as heck. And
You do.
There's the one drill that always is blowing my mind is, dribbling 2 basketballs. And dribbling 2 basketballs on its own, it's difficult.
Yeah, it is.
And then you see guys or gals dribble between their legs with 2 balls at a time or whatever. And I'm just looking at that, and it's like, I'm hardly coordinated enough to watch that, and follow the ball, right? Let alone just try to do it.
Yeah, it's real tough at the beginning, but practice makes permanent. I've always been told that too. So I just practice enough, and then Scott always tells us he wants us to mess up. He wants us to go as fast as we can on the dribbling part, and like if we mess up, that's fine.
Okay.
That means we're trying as hard as we can.
Right, definitely. Yeah, and Scott's been kind of the. When you look at like the star players on any team, there's there's only one player or person that I can think of off the top of my head that doesn't go to Roots. Huh?
Who?
I can't remember actually who it is.
Oh, okay.
But I know there's one person that goes and plays club ball in Portland.
Okay.
And I can't remember the name right now.
I think of Mackenzie Keck.
Possibly, but I thought it could be.
Yeah, she I think she works out at Roots, but I think she plays over in Portland. I think
Okay, no, there's one player that just didn't go to Roots.
Okay, like at all. Okay.
At all, yeah.
Okay.
But like you see girls like Keck and guys like Reese Wallace who just, he's not any bigger than me, but he plays a lot better than I ever could hope to, right?
Yeah.
And plays a lot better than guys that are 6'5".
Yeah, that is true. The kid's got a lot of heart.
Oh, dude, the kid, I love him. Yeah, he's great. I love kids that are able to work at something to that degree, to where it's like, okay, you have everything working against you, almost, but yet, you break a tournament record for 3-pointers or, what have you,
Yeah,
things
you
like
just
that.
set all these records people don't think you can.
Right, exactly, and that's hard work. I think there's some natural talent, obviously.
Yeah.
The guy's quick as heck.
Yeah, he is.
But, he's scoring half his points from the post. It's like, all right.
He's got to be doing something right.
Right, exactly. So what's been one thing I'm always curious about with players is what's been the biggest obstacle in a sport, and where someone has made the biggest leap forward, and what would those two be for you?
For me, it's probably I'm in my head a lot.
Okay.
So like, I miss a shot. I try to fix what I did wrong instead of forgetting about it sometimes.
Okay.
And then, what was the second part?
Where you at what point did you take the biggest step forward in your game?
Sophomore to junior year.
Okay.
Yeah, that summer. I was definitely the biggest leap, and most people I've talked to about it say that it's because now you're not like lower, you're like you're leading the team now, so you're in the higher grade, so the younger kids are now looking up to you instead of you being one of the young dogs.
Right. And what went into that? Was it just something where something clicked in practice, or did you practice harder or focus on certain things? What led to it?
I think it was that summer I worked out more. I took in the game more seriously.
Okay.
So it was like, instead of like playing it because I love playing the game, I'll always play the game because I love it. It was like, I need to do this, and this so I can play the game I love longer and at a higher competitive collegiate level.
Right. And going into that a little bit, what was your first contact with a college, and what was that like, talking with a college coach or recruiter? How did that feel, and kind of what was the conversation like?
My first contact was Lewis and Clark. Scott played there. He had a friend. They came and watched us and stuff, and she sent me an email, and I can't remember exactly what it's about, but she said like I was a good player and like all this stuff, and then I asked her, for my first email back was thank you, and what else do you think I could work on to improve my game?
Mm-hmm.
And then she sent me back this list, and I've just tried to be better from there.
How long was the list?
It was kind of long.
Okay, like 10 items or?
Yeah, 10 or less.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. What was at the top of the list there?
I think it was ball handling.
Okay, which is something you just touched on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is I'm pretty sure that's how I start every single one of my roots workouts to warm up.
Okay.
Is ball handling.
Okay. How much better do you feel like you've gotten at that over the last 2 years?
Oh, a ton.
Okay.
There's drills I thought I can do now that I thought I never could do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then what was with Portland State? What was the first conversation like that there with those folks and was there any one thing that they offered that really made the decision easier? Or?
It was close to home.
Okay.
You can ask anyone. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to leave home. I could
Right.
live at home and go to school if I could.
Right. Shoot down to 30, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was real close to home. They came and visited my house, and we
Okay.
sat down and had dinner, and they talked to my parents, and then they also talked to Scott and Logan
Mm-hmm.
a ton, and
Right.
it felt like they'd become part of my family.
Okay.
So I'd gone to a couple of their games. They'd said hi. Like they texted me like every week,
Okay.
and we talked at least once a week, if not once every 2 weeks.
Okay.
And it was like it was more of like they just grew a part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And being close to home was just a double extra. My parents liked the coaches. The coaches were honest. I mean, they never Logan and Scott liked them.
Mm-hmm.
It was just there wasn't one bad thing.
Nice.
They were honest from the start. They didn't have the best team. They told me they were in a growing process. But Kennedy has gone from New Mexico, rebuilt the program there,
Mm-hmm.
turned them into a winning team within 4 years. Went to Southern Oregon first,
Okay.
and then New Mexico, I think, or backwards, either way. And his coaching staff, he's either coached or they've all gone to the same school together.
Okay.
So he's brought them along with him.
I bet it was surreal visiting the campus and really going in. I'm sure you did that whole process, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
In April.
Okay. Yeah, I can only imagine because it's like I don't want to knock Rainier,
Yeah.
in any way.
Yeah.
But there's some fixing to be done, right?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, there
everybody-
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and so in Portland State to me is one of the more beautiful campuses I've seen in general. Not I was up at Husky Stadium not too long ago too. That's a beautiful facility. That
Yeah,
whole
it is.
campus is
It's
great.
nice up there. I haven't been up there in a couple of years, but when I went, it was nice.
Yeah,
Big.
right. That's
It's
the big
big.
thing.
Yeah.
They got a field for everything.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then Portland State's just right by the zoo too.
Yeah.
Take a trip to the zoo for the day just to mess around, the Rose Garden, all those. It's a great, nice little area. So
Yeah, it
I'm
is.
sure you're stoked.
Yeah, I am. And people tell me I'm a country girl, so I couldn't live in the city, but I mean, what?
People are I'm weird. I've never understood that. So I grew up in the Bay Area.
Okay.
So here's a fun fact I didn't realize until fairly recently. In the Bay Area, there are more people, and this is like the Bay Area is about the size geographically of, you think, Vancouver up to probably Castle Rock, maybe a little bit further.
Yeah.
But not much. There's the census has almost 8 million people there. Washington State does not have 8 million people, right? So you figure you condense all that into that space, and that's where I come from, and I would tell anybody that don't be intimidated by that. It's busier for sure.
Yeah, it is.
In a lot of ways, things can move quicker, but you adapt. I mean, humans adapt to that.
You adapt, yeah.
So
You'll get used to it.
exactly. You might not like it. There's certain things I would have preferred to be different in that regard, but there's a lot of good things too. I mean, like I was just talking about, you got a beautiful campus, you got the zoo.
All those things is right there.
Right next to you,
distance,
within walking distance, exactly, or a bike ride at
Yeah.
least, right? You got
Or a
Voodoo
bus, you
Donuts
gotta go
open
there.
24 hours a day.
That's a plus.
Right, exactly. So, and in smaller towns, you get some of the good things that you don't get in the city, but
They all got their pros and cons.
Exactly. So it's just another geographic. So yeah, anybody who tells you that, just don't even listen.
So which one do you like better, up here or down there?
Here right now. So there's one of the things about the Bay Area that's unique to other, compared to other big cities, is the cost of living is crazy. I believe the median house cost in San Francisco, I guess, was 1.5, or it may have been Oakland, 1.5 million. People don't get paid that much more there on average than they do anywhere else, right?
No.
There is a little bit of a difference, but it's not significant. So, I think for anybody, home ownership is a pretty big goal.
Yeah.
And for a lot of young people, it is not attainable in the Bay Area. So unless you're really lucky, you have to, and I also enjoy simple things. So I love the parks here.
Yeah,
they're
nice.
Yeah, you don't always get some of that. The roads, obviously, the scenery. I love going to Mount St. Helens, and I've been in Mount Rainier once, and I had an okay time. Not because I have a 3-year-old son who wasn't having the best day, right? So, but there's so many things that appeal to me about the Pacific Northwest that I couldn't get in the Bay Area. Period. So, yeah. Kudos to you. I think you'll be fine. I'm sure they'll be glad that they, came to dinner with you guys and said, hey, we want you on your team. I'm sure they will be happy every day that they made that decision. So my final thing here is what, now that there's kind of a bit of a changing of the guard at Rainier, and this happens with every program. What do you see for the future of the Columbians girls basketball team?
We got a lot of young girls coming up, the 8th grade class. They've been playing together forever. That's like every class in Rainier, though.
Right.
Yeah. So they're going to be young next year, but I think they can get it done.
Okay.
I think they'll get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kids got a lot of heart.
Another run to state.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, they've worked hard enough. Get that defense going.
Thinking we chucking up threes. I'm just a smaller group. At least what I've seen.
There'll be some of them that'll shoot the three.
Okay.
That'll be comfortable with shooting them. Yeah.
Okay. Does Knox like shooting threes?
He doesn't mind them. He doesn't want us to live by them, though.
Right.
Some teams live and die by that three.
Right.
He doesn't want us. He wants us to take what's there and drive and get the team in foul trouble.
Play balance ball and all that. Right.
Yeah. Move that ball. Play team ball.
Right. There you go. All right. Well, hey, I appreciate coming down here. I gave Desi the wrong address accidentally, so I kind of this started kind of in a less than ideal manner. So and so many good things anybody could say about you, Desi, and so I wish you the best, and I think anybody who knows you does also.
Yeah, thank you.
So, yeah. And welcome back. All right. So, basketball season is in the books. It's on to baseball, softball, little track, girls golf. But,
don't forget about tennis.
And tennis. I'm just a baseball, softball guy. I just can't fault me for that.
Soccer. Forgot about soccer, too. Spring, the season of mini sports.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully not so many rains. Last year was obviously wet, so hopefully
and
wild. It was a little bit wild. There were some interesting things that happened last year. One was since we were just talking about Kelso earlier and their success with basketball, Kelso softball team got to state. They didn't do as well as they would have liked, but I think that. I was down there earlier today, and they're really harnessing that the pain and the lessons that they've learned last year, and the one big thing there that I think that's important to me is there's two things. Their level of confidence, the way they carry themselves in practice, and those girls just love softball anyway, but the way the determination right now, I guess you'd say. Is there. It's obvious. And then the other thing is The girls there agree, and Coach Dean Sorensen says that, hey, right now, before the season even starts, we're so much further along in terms of the things we're working on and the things that we have down really well. Where they're at now was about, as far as their ability and skills, was, they didn't get there till about the midpoint last season. So they've got a big jump. Last year I felt like they weren't quite in the top tier of talent and ability. They were close. This year I think they probably made the leap. So, they're a team to watch out for. Baseball, the guys are also, they, made a playoff run. Similar situation, didn't end how they'd like to, but they got pretty close there. I'm curious to know, we know Wahkiakum's going to be really good. We expect Tudor Lake to be pretty good. Who's your dark horse this year? I know we're really early into things, but who would you pick right now for your dark horse?
Can I say Nacelle?
I don't see why not.
I mean, I think state quarterfinals the past 2 years, returned a lot of bodies,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of talent, a lot of the same guys that were on the basketball team
Mm-hmm.
that had some success, a lot of the same guys that were on the football team
Mm-hmm.
that had some success. I think Nacelle's figuring out how to win this
Mm-hmm.
group of players. Last year they just didn't get any games in. I mean, I think they were in the state quarterfinals with like 16 games played or something, and the other team had like 26 games played. It was just like such a vast difference, and clearly and obvious. Looked like Nacelle was in spring training, and the team they were playing was, in the World Series. It was just such a big difference. So I think Nacelle can do a lot of good things. You like to think Ari Long would.
Right.
You got to be high on Ari Long, I would assume. They don't have Andrew Walling this year, but you got some great hitting. You got Caden Vanderwerf and some really good pitching. I think that they're a little disappointed with how they did at districts the past couple of years, and they're really trying to change that. And I think a lot of them, especially as they've gotten older and more mature, realize kind of the work you have to put in to be able to succeed at districts. And there's just been games that get away from Ari Long the past couple of years, and it starts in league play and just kind of continues. It's I think they're one of the, as talented as any team out there in Southwest Washington. It's just a matter of kind of proving that now and finally coming through on that.
Right. Mine's probably Kalama. They're a team last year who they were a few small things away from kind of making the jump into an upper tier, part of a very, very tough league. One we all agree is the toughest in the state at any level. Just every team is, or almost every team is really good. And I feel like the success with football and some of the things that those guys worked out on the football field, as far as practicing hard, lifting weights, doing the things you can do in the off season to prepare for the season and stuff, I believe that will carry over. So still interesting to see. Like we just touched on, the league's incredibly difficult, but I think that will carry over. That those lessons that were learned recently for them. And then I'd like to add that I'm really curious to see what in the heck is going to go down in Winlock. They got a lot of young guys right now, but I've spent a good amount of time around their new head coach, Jordan Nalen. He also coaches Rural Baseball Incorporated, a summer league up there, and he's a really, really good coach. And I think, I'm not sure they're going to be a terrific team this year, but I think in about 2 or 3 years, I can see them being very, very good. So
yeah, that Central 2B league's always tough. I'll quiz you here so we don't leave out track and field. And We'll see if you cut it when you edit it or not.
Usain Bolt.
With Kaylin Shipley and Julia Stepper now graduated, who takes over as kind of the dominant track and field athlete this spring?
Dominant track.
Or just
and field
give me a name that to watch that you think will kind of start to shine this year or has shined and been overshadowed.
Ooh. Eliza Bannister.
Ooh, that's actually a good one.
Yeah, I think she's going to have a really good season.
Yeah, she's going to St. Martin's for cross country and track. She's a runner, man.
Yeah, that's Ilwaco's Eliza Bannister. Just to throw that and make sure that's clear.
Yeah,
yeah, terrific basketball player. But she's been a stud track athlete for a little bit now, and probably overshadowed by some of the others that just take that spotlight away a bit.
I believe nearly that entire relay last year that won a title returns for Ilwaco or finished second.
Yeah,
I think they actually won that 4x2 or
mm-hmm.
4x4 or something.
And I think that entire team does return, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So Ilwaco always produces some good athletes.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Woodland girls, Sarah Redder,
mm-hmm.
Kenna Flanagan.
Well, yeah.
couple of former state champs,
right.
One in the high jump, one in the javelin. Couple of college commits, or I think Redder still has to sign her official letter of intent, but has verbal. There are a couple of good ones. It'd be interesting. McKenna was kind of a surprise as a javelin champion her sophomore year, and didn't make state last year. I think she's probably pretty eager to cap her senior year on a high note. And then Sarah Redder, kind of a surprise as the high jump champion last year. And of course, in the high jump, anything can happen on any given day. But I think she's ready to kind of step into the spotlight out there too.
Okay. Yeah, no, this springtime, I love it. The sun hopefully will come out every day for a while soon.
The sun will come out tomorrow, Jason.
I guess it will. I hope the clouds don't wrap up the sun too much. So let's say that. And we were talking about this earlier. I'm going to leave it up to you, the people, and vote on Twitter. We're going to put a little poll out here. We were discussing talking about Seahawks. It's something we have very deep, detailed. We'll call them debates. Some might say arguments, but
Sports editor is usually a fairly jolly man, but when people like to talk about the Seahawks, sports editor gets very angry.
Josh Smash. Yeah, no. So we'd like to know. Should we add a segment here, a short segment where we discuss a hot topic of the week? Express our opinions. We, as sports reporters, we pay attention. We do our homework, and that includes non-prep related stuff. I think you'd agree.
Go read that feature on Ichiro by ESPN. It's phenomenal.
Okay.
It's phenomenal. It's about abusive parents, but it's really good.
Well, I wasn't really planning on wrapping things up on that note.
No. It's a really good story, but that'd be a hot topic that we're talking about. Is how Ichiro, was forged.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good story.
Okay, there we go. I'll have to check that out.
I called it neat, and my dad said I was a crazy person for calling the story neat, but we have different insight as sports writers. We like to see good stories, and that was a good story.
Yeah, and non-sports writers will never, I think, understand the difficulty of interviewing someone on something as difficult to talk about as things like that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'll end on this then. Kudos to a lot of these athletes I had to talk to after losses this year.
Yes. Yes.
Every single one of them handled it with grace, answered all the questions.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that's hard as a high school athlete when you're ending your senior year and you're in tears, and so thanks to those athletes, because it honestly does make our stories better to hear what you have to say, because the coach can only comment so much on how you guys are feeling. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, piggybacking on that too. Sentiment shared, and And to those that just wrapped up your seasons, hope the spring treats you well. So that's it for the 34th installment of the Preps Plus podcast. Again, feedback always appreciated. You can tell us how poorly we're doing our jobs.
Or you can give compliments too. Jason thinks that it's all negative over here. We like compliments also.
Yeah, I like to humble brag. Josh, just likes to brag, right? Well, yeah, that's it. So we'll catch you next time, and happy spring.